Hey guys, it's Blake, and I'm back here for another video. If you recall, a few videos back, possibly, I may have talked about this, but possibly not. But I told you that I don't know just one coding language, but I know three. I know C++, C Sharp, and Java, and I'm thinking about learning like HTML or something like that. I learned C++, and then I also learned C Sharp, and then from that I learned Java, because the syntax from C Sharp and Java are very similar. So you know. Yeah, it's gonna switch my color scheme, but I'm gonna make some C Sharp tutorials, because I think that it's a great coding language, and as C++ is good for making games and stuff, like our numbers game, and of course graphical games, but that's a little bit difficult because you have to like test for collision, and that's its own little pot of worms there. But anyway, C Sharp is good for like making an application that is actually usable. For example, I made this little internet browser. I know it's not perfect, or it's okay, but it actually works and it has a purpose. You can do this in C++, but it isn't as common because C Sharp is a Windows language, and it's just easier to do because they kind of mix the syntax of C++ and Java to create C Sharp. So let's get started. First of all, you're going to want Microsoft Visual C Sharp 2010 Express. If you don't have that, then you should go to the Microsoft website or just Google Microsoft Visual C Sharp Express. And just download it. And we're going to click on New Project. And you're going to see all this stuff. And C Sharp is actually the primary coding language that you'd make an indie game for Xbox, if you know anything about indie games. Which are like Xbox games that you can make yourself. You can make console applications. We can even make a Windows Form application, which is what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and name this Tutorial 1. You can go ahead and name it whatever you want. That's what I'm going to call it. And one thing that people like about C++ is that it's very fast and it's a very strong language, but it's a little bit harder to do stuff, which makes it not so popular. C Sharp is also pretty fast, and it's very strong as well, but it isn't as fast and it isn't quite as strong, but it's easier to use. So it's kind of more of a popular language, but you'll see what I mean as soon as we get started. So as soon as you open up your Windows Form application, you're going to see this little form right here. And let's just make a Hello World button. So you're going to go over to your toolbox on the left hand side. If you don't see that, go to View, Other Pages, and it should be Toolbox. And you're going to want to double click on the button, and then close this, and you're going to see the button is right there. You can move it to wherever you want. I'm going to keep it up there in that corner. And I'm going to teach you how to rename this button. So click on the button, and you can't just like right click it and click rename or double click it. To rename it, you actually have to click on the button. It'll open up something down here in the properties window. Once again, if you don't see that, it's View, Other Pages, and Properties window. You're also going to want the Solution Explorer and possibly the error list. And click on it, and you're going to see this thing, Text Button 1. Change that to Click Me. Just hit enter, and it changed it. You can rearrange this button size however you feel like. And something you should get the hang of is not having a bunch of empty space. Only make the program as big as it needs to be. Let me check my time. Alright, I'm doing good at about 4.5 minutes here. Alright, so you're going to want to double click on your button now, and you're going to see a code page pop up. And it's going to look like this. Now, the using is the equivalent of using namespace and then whatever we'd want to include. But it's perfectly fine like how it is. Don't mess with any of that. And you're going to see this thing called Namespace Tutorial 1. Well, in C++, we'd have this thing called like int. Sorry. Int. Jesus. Int main. And then we'd have something along the lines of that. Well, you wouldn't use main. Int main. That isn't. You don't need to do any of that. Because they kind of run on this, little grouping method where they have a namespace, then they have a class, and then they have a method. The method is going to be this thing that says private void button1 underscore click, which means when we click on button 1, do what's inside of this. Now, if you hear me refer to this method as a function, that's what it's usually called. It depends what coding language you're using. Mine primary is C. Primary one is C++, and in that they call it a function. In this they call it a method. I can't remember what they call it in Java. Have to Google that real quick when this video is over. And then it goes up to this class, which they call form1, and then they call form. That's inheritance right there, but we're not going to get into that because that's very complicated for you guys right now, considering you know practically nothing. And, well, I guess I could tell you. This little colon right here means that it's accessing this. It's accessing this form. The code is actually accessing that and displaying it to this. If that makes sense. That's all that means. And then you're going to see public form1 initialize component. That's just initializing, which means it's basically loading the content, kind of. And our namespace. And that's that's the basic syntax of it right there, but you're never going to have to write that because it always pops up pre-written for you. So, you're going to see this thing says object sender, comma, event args e. Well, all that means is that if I wanted to like initialize a key, I could do e.key and stuff, but oh no, I can't right now. But that's kind of their own little initializer, like it's like their own function, kind of, that they have built into this thing. But anyways, let's get to this. And we're gonna type message box. The message box is just a box that pops up. And you're going to do show, because you want the message box to actually show something. You're going to want to do a parentheses, 2 parentheses, and then 2 quotes, and then whatever you want it to say. So I'm going to say, hello world. And it ends in a semicolon. Very simple. So let's just build and run here. Click me. Hello world. And as you can see, it isn't really a game, but it's kind of like an app. And this app could, not right now because it's really stupid, but if we were to actually do more stuff to it and maybe make like a calculator with buttons you could press and stuff, that would actually have a practical application. And that's more what C# is about, unlike C++, or a lot of other coding languages. I think I have time to show you one other thing. Actually, no, I think that's all I'm going to do for now. So, thank you for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe.